Today we're going to attack head on what the Mesilas Yesharim calls the most powerful drive in the human being, Chemdas Mammon, the drive for money. And we're going to learn from the Torah how we contain Chemdas Mammon. Stage one of fixing Chemdas Mammon is to contain it. Make sure its tentacles don't spread out into areas which are asur, forbidden in the Torah, and keep it within the playing fields within which the Torah allows. This journey is so crucial because when we can come to grips with Chemdas Mammon, when we can contain it and tame it and eventually train it, what waits for us at the end of that journey is Ahavas Hashem, is a relationship with God, a love for Him, an intimacy. It's the most important journey for us as businessmen to journey. Let's make no mistakes, it's going to be hard. But with the Torah's guidance, we have a shot at a real relationship with Him. Let's learn together. There's an incredible Rashi in Parshas Bahar which I'd like to learn together with you, which actually teaches us the first step in containing Chemdas Mammon. The Pasuk says, "V'chiyamuch achicha umata yado imach." When your brother falls and his hand collapses and is living amongst you, his financial struggle, v'chezakta boy, you should hold him upright. Don't let him collapse. Ger v'soishav v'chai imach. Whether he's a ger or a toishav, you should allow him to live with you. Give him the ability to live financially with you by providing the financial support to allow him not to collapse. That support will come in the form of a loan. And says the Torah, Al tikach me'ito neshech v'sarbis. When you give that loan, don't take from him interest. V'yareisa me'elokecha. You should have fear of your God. V'chai achicha imach. And your brother should live with you. Rashi wants to know why in this pasuk, in the restriction from taking interest on loans that are given to a poor brother, to a poor Jew, why is it that Hashem said in that verse, "Vayareisa me'elokecha," you should have fear of your God? Listen to this incredible Rashi. "Vayareisa me'elokecha," says Rashi, "Lefi shedato shel adam nimsheches achar haribis." A person's mind is drawn towards taking interest. V'kasha lifrosh mimhenei, and it's very difficult for a person to detach themselves from taking it. The Chemdas Mammon in the area of taking interest on loans is very, very strong. He finds all forms of justification for himself to take interest on the loans because of his money that's lying dormant in the hands of the borrower. I'm going to lend this money out. I could be getting dividends from investments. I could get capital gains, growth from my capital investments, interest on loans that I give out to non-Jews. I'm going to give this money to allow it to sit dormant in the hands of my brother, the Jew, that he'll repay me in a few years' time after inflation has taken its knock. Not only won't I get the dividends, the capital return and the interest, but I'm actually going to get back less than what I lent him after the inflationary effects have taken into account. That's hard for a person. The chemda for mammon, the desire for money, pulls at a person in this area, says Rashi, more than most. And it's very hard. Kasha lifroshem, and you can't get the tentacles of that chemdas mammon over the line to actually give it. Hutrach loima, therefore it was necessary for Hashem to say in this verse, V'yareisa me'elokecha. You should have fear of your God. And this Rashi, one of my students, one of my chaburas showed it to me. It blew my mind. It's the most remarkable Rashi. Because Rashi is telling you that in the throngs of Chemdas Mammon, in the heart of it, in the hardest, most difficult place where it pulls at you and you can't get out of its grips, and you want to contain it so that it doesn't allow you to do things which are also in the Torah. There's a tool that the Torah has built for you to use to do that containing. What is it? You should have yira. Incredible. The tool to contain our insatiable, uncontainable desire for money is called yira. What does that mean? So until we've learned together in this series, I'm sure for most of you, yira means, I can't do it. Hashem's watching. I'm going to be punished for it. I can't do it. I'm not allowed to. It's asur. Something which we would draw on, which I would call rotzon. It's like you just muster all your inner strength and just restrain yourself. Gvura, inner rotzon, grit, whatever you would like to call it. This force of restraint which comes from almost nowhere but the fact that I'm a God-fearing person and I know I'm not allowed to do it. That's what we would call yira. But that's not yira. That's rotzen. That's gvura. It's not yira. Yira, what we've learned together, is realizing that my actions are going to have a consequence for me in this world. A consequence that I don't want. And when I realize and translate my action into a palpable result, which I don't want, I will be able to hold myself back easily. And I'm going to share with you the tool of yira in the area of ribis. There are many. But I'll share with you a Gemara, and then you'll begin to understand how yourself you'll be able to apply yira in areas where your chemdas moment is getting the better of you. The Gemara in Baba Metzia, in Daf Ayin Aleph Amud Aleph, says as follows: Tanya, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, Kol mi sheyesh lo ma'os u'malve oisam sheloi beribis. Any person who has money and he lends them out without interest. Alava Kosev Omer, about such a person, the verse says, Kasboi lo nosan beneshech, v'shoichad al noki lo lokach, oise eile lo yimot lo olam. The verse in Tehillim says as follows: a person who doesn't give his money out with interest, and he never takes a bribe over an innocent person, one who does these two things, lo yimot lo olam, his finances will never collapse. Says the Brisa, an inference, ha lamadata, you learn from this, shekol hamalve beribis, that someone who does lend their money with interest, nechasav mismoitatin, his finances do collapse. Now let me ask you. You're a Ben Torah. You believe in the Torah. We believe that what Hashem writes there, every single word of it is true, and He'll fulfill whatever He says. You're standing there with money. You have a person who's destitute, needs the loan badly. You've got this money and you have other opportunities to utilize the money for. And it's hard for you to give it out without interest. Then you read this Gemara in Baba Metzia, and the Gemara says as follows: if you've got money and you lend it out to a Jew with interest, your finances will collapse. You think you're going to make money by lending that money with interest? That will be the source of your financial demise. And not only that, the Gemara says if you would lend it out without interest, your property will be protected from financial demise. It won't collapse. So that's the great bracha you're going to bring to your life financially by giving out a loan with interest. Says Rashi, that's what Hashem's instructing us in this pasuk. When your chemdas mammon gets the better of you, and it won't allow you to pull your tentacles out of an aveira, for example, the one of taking interest on loans, the tool to use is called yira. Find out and understand the consequence that the Torah describes for the action that you're about to do. If it's against the Torah will tell you what's going to happen if you're going to do it. The Gemara Baba Metzia says, your finances will collapse. That's the surest way for business failures. That's what you want to do. You want to take on God when He says, you do that and I will make sure your business fails. Who wants to do that? So you speak to your own chemdas mammon and say, I'm on the same page as you. I also want to make a lot of money. But by lending with interest, that's not the way to make money. That's the way to destroy our finances. The way to make money is to lend money without interest. That, the Torah says, you get untold bracha in your life for the incredible chesed. Because make no mistake, the Torah recognizes that it's an incredible chesed. For the incredible chesed of lending without interest, that's what brings the ultimate bracha to your business. That your business, even if things go down at a stage, it will always recover. That you will be blessed financially will come from that very loan that's going to sit earning nothing in the hands of the Jew. It's going to be earning you everything. All the financial blessing in the world. And so it's not grit. It's not inner rotzon. It's not just restraint that we're using to hold that chemdas mammon. We're speaking and we're re-educating this chemdas mammon and saying, I also want to make money. But let's make money with yira. Yira is a realization that there's a Torah, and Torah has consequences for our actions. Let's learn together the consequences that will have positive financial actions, and stay away from the actions that are going to have negative financial consequences for us. Says Rashi, when you have yira, it will be the easiest thing in the world for you to give out loans without interest. Because your chemdas mammon wants to give the loan without interest. That's the magical tool that the Torah guides us and teaches us. And your first step in trying to contain chemdas mammon, don't fight it. Go with the chemda. But give the chemda yira to be able to enlighten it to actually find the right way to achieve its ends. Almost everything that we learned in this series, in Tzedakah, in Kovei Itim B'Torah, in the section on Yira itself, was all utilizing this koyach of Yira, realizing that there's certain actions that I'm going to take in this world which are going to bring financial blessing to me. I want to do those actions for the financial blessing involved. I want to give tzedakah because there's a financial bracha that's blessed me. That's Yira. You're utilizing your chemdas mammon, you're harnessing it and teaching it, opening its eyes to see, no, that's the way we want to go. We want to give tzedakah. We want to be kovei itim b'Torah because that's what's going to give me productivity at work. I'll never want to be Mechalel Shabbos to run my business. I never want to steal in my business. Not because Hashem says I'm not allowed, but it's not good for me financially. Because I've got Yira. Yira is guarding and containing the chemdas mammon to allow it only to work within the parameters of the Torah. But its restraint, its containment is not just a whip and a stick that's keeping it contained. It's teaching it that for its own self-interest, for its own best interest, keep the mitzvahs. That's what's going to give you financial blessing in your life. That is Rashi. That is the Pasuk in Vayikra. The tool to contain chemdas mammon. Stage 1 of engaging with this incredible, powerful desire inside of us is to harness Yira. That's what the Gaon says. Someone who engages in this world with Yira, you've got that tool of Yira, which you're utilizing in all your business engagements. that is so good for Torah and mitzvahs, like Zevel Lagan. That's like fertilizer for the garden. That is going to allow you to harness your chemdas mammon, but keep it contained. The secret to containing chemdas mammon, Yira. And now you know what Yira really is. That's why the Torah, perhaps it says, Im ein chokhmah, ein Yira. Im ein Yira, ein chokhmah. Yira is not a thought, it's not a feeling. It needs chokhmah. It needs learning. You have to learn the Torah. You have to learn the consequences of mitzvahs so that you're able to implement this Yira. You can have an emunah in the Torah and believe in the Torah and believe in Hashem, but you have to know what He says the consequences will be for your actions. And once you have that chokhmah, you will have Yira at your disposal in order to contain chemdas mammon and every other midah that you have in your life. We look forward in the next phase to understanding how do we tame this chemdas mammon. How do we calm it down a bit so it doesn't burn so bright, fight so loud, scream so loud inside of us? How do we tame it? That's the topic of the next year.